Hey, good morning, all you high vibrational manifestors out there. So, I've been having a couple questions here, and I think I know what I need to do to kind of get more understanding and enlightenment for you out there. You know, there's so much information we have that's streaming all over the place. A lot of it is misinformation, also information that's been diluted, heavily redacted from the truth of everything. So if you're here, that means you're searching for something to better your life. You're on a journey. You're a spiritual being. So my content finds you. Any other content about motivation, self-development, awareness, mind consciousness, that means something in you has brought you here. So let me just enlighten you on how everything in your life is working, and this will make sense for you. Okay, the number one thing that you have to be aware of is that all of this is a literal dream. It is a higher density dream. In physics and science, we now know that everything that governs creation, or what we see as reality, is merely vibratory frequencies of energy. Energy in the form of electricity, magnetism, plasma. Okay? These energies, they coagulate together and they form illusions of what you see as physical flesh and blood, immaterial, inanimate objects, car seat. So everything in your world is that. So the first thing, you are not a physically real person. You are a spiritually real being playing the role of a physical person. Again, a dream. Check this out. Next thing, how do we know this is just a different dream? Well, let's look at the body's mechanical or mechanism when it comes to the immune system response, epidemiology, anything about the body's cellular structure. In the body, it decodes its environment through sensory input. Sensory input travels by the way through nerve pathways that enter the brain, the front regional cortex of the brain, where a lot of information is processed through electricity and chemical electricity. Okay, chemical reaction creates electricity. Chemical are proteins, different enzymes in your body and the cell that creates all these feelings you have. These feelings are then translated to a part of your nervous system called the autonomic nervous system, central nervous system, which is controlled by something called the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between fiction, non-fiction. It cannot tell the difference between what is real or what is imagination. A perfect example, when you're in your bed and you're asleep and you are dreaming, your subconscious will react the same way that's if you're in the real world. If you're in a dream and you're in a nightmare, your heart rate will race, you will perspire, you will sweat, your heart will pound. All of that is happening while you are sleeping. It's just like it's happening in the real world when you're awake and you feel danger, you feel scared, you're watching a movie, the movie isn't real, but you're watching, it's a scary movie, your heart's going to race, your temperature's going to rise, you're going to react. That's because the subconscious mind only sees one reality, and the reality is the imagination is the same as what you see as the physical. So hence, It is a dream. Okay? Now this is starting to make sense. Should start to make sense now, because I'm showing you the signs and I'm showing you the... Now let's go into the other aspect. So now that you know that you aren't even here now, keep that in mind. A spiritual being, a spiritual entity, a spiritual dimension has no direction. It has no location specific. It's here, there, and everywhere. So you are not one place. You cannot be here alone. You're everywhere. That's the definition of a spirit energy. And we know that in quantum physics, that particles, they can be in two locations at the same time. Now let's go into that. What is this thing? It is called a universal consciousness, a universal awareness. That's who you are. You portray yourself down here, and then you interact with your thoughts. Your thoughts are the housing that creates your world. Now, because you are this spiritual being having this human experience here, in what we call three-dimensional time-space, three-dimensional reality world, what happens is now, because you've been stuck here, you have to develop coping mechanisms on a 3D flat dimension. A coping mechanism is the brain's way of habituation. A coping mechanism henceforth creates the conscious logical mind, otherwise known as your ego. It's a survival mechanism. While you're on this 3D plane of existence, you have a limited perspective of the true field, which is 5 senses. You only can see about 1%, 2%, 98%, 98% of true reality you cannot see, feel, touch, or interact with in a physical form. Okay? Did you get what I just... Did you get that? Okay? You are seeing a sliver of what you truly are. Okay? So, while here, the conscious, logical mind, your ego, it developed coping mechanism for you. One of the biggest coping mechanism that your mind invented and habituated for you is called psychological time. We call it clock time. There's a clock on the wall. There's a clock over there. There's noon, there's morning, there's evening, there's night, there's day. It's called psychological time. Okay? Psychological time is not time. It's an illusion of time. Psychological time doesn't exist in the true essence of what you are. If you want to master this stuff, you have to focus on your subconscious. Notice the habits. Notice how the subconscious works, and I'll give you 2 of them right now. The subconscious has no awareness of psychological time. The subconscious has no awareness of a past or a future. It only has the awareness of a present. Now, the subconscious believes everything you literally think and feel. Hence, reality is an illusion. Anything is possible. So that is proven. So again, match the subconscious with the conscious. See how different they are. Now, because you have this conscious mind, you become very logical. You become very judgmental. You become very competitive. You become very jealous. You become very self-comparison. That is propagated by the media in the matrix, by the people that live with you in the matrix, by the ideas, by the social stuff of the matrix. That now fuels your conscious mind, which makes you even more limited. That's correct. Okay? Now that you get that, the only thing that feeds reality is thought, perception, or imagination and feelings. All of that is already out there in the field of consciousness. You tap into it by what you think and what you feel. Based on what you're thinking and what you're feeling, you are self-generating your world inside of this field of matrix that we live in. That self-generation sees the fruits of your labor, whatever it is. Does that make sense? Are you seeing how that stuff works? All right. The next focus point now is, since you aren't really here, because you're just out there and everywhere, it's just part of you that's playing a role in a dreamlike state, right? The next key is, how can you break the cycle of being limited and stuck? Okay, if you're aware of this knowledge and this actually truth now, well, you can become unstuck by just reversing things you've been doing. You have to reverse your thought process. If you're in a thought process of hopelessness, of negativity, of uncertainty, you have to replace that with a thought process of positivity, expectation, and things will work good in my favor, and things like that. If you start to change that, you change what's called a frequency of this stuff. You know, people, everything in this stuff is just basically tuning. You have to tune your body to a frequency, and that's where the consciousness comes in. The consciousness will tune your body into a dimension or a world you want to live in. Now here's the next aspect of all of this stuff. Okay, next aspect of this stuff is this: you and I have been conditioned to believe in scarcity, in a lack, in not enough, and we see that in our environment, and that again is also an illusion. Actually, it's quite impossible for there to be scarcity in anything. Actually, there's a part of your mind that is limitless, so how can you be scarce? The subconscious can process 1 billion bits of information per second. Your conscious can only process one thought per time. You can only think of one thing per second. Your conscious mind, we get more specific, your conscious mind can only produce about 18,000 thoughts per day. That's it. That's the limit of it. The subconscious is limitless. So there cannot be lack or limitation in the multiverse of aspects we live in. Okay, that's a lie. That's something you can't believe in. Okay, that's something that's going to make you more limited. All right. So if everything is limitless, why aren't you experiencing what you want? Well, it's because you don't know it was limitless. Second thing, you're focusing too much more on our conscious aspect of living. We're using the mind that creates 18,000 thoughts per day to try to create limitless. It can't work like that. You have to use the mind that's limitless to create limitless. So that's the subconscious mind. Okay? Okay, now, the subconscious mind works in a different language than your conscious mind. Your conscious mind works by analyzing, judging, observing, and thinking. Your subconscious mind mainly works with imagination and feelings. That's it. The subconscious mind communicates through repetition, through what I think and what I see and what I feel. And the great thing about this thing is you have control to control how you perceive and feel about something. You can change a negative feeling to a positive feeling. Yeah, you can literally do that. You can change how you react to something. You can literally do that. That then impresses the subconscious to change the world you live in. Now, once you start to interact and do this, then the matrix will change. Now, here's the next thing that you want to understand. Okay? I want to talk more about the limitless possibilities, the unlimited stuff that's happening here, because this will. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If I may shock you, that there's not only one copy of you around. There's actually like an infinite copy of copies of you or me right now. There's infinite copies going on right now, and in these infinite copies, they have lived and experienced every possible imaginable and unimaginable outcome right now. Okay? Right in this space right now. Copies of you have already lived all the wildest imagination and the things that you can't imagine as yet, because they haven't been streamed to you yet. They are experiencing them right now. So the fact that you can only see a sliver of 2% of the big field, that's nothing. Now imagine if you can tap into the that's correct. When I say everything imaginable and unimaginable, let's go into imaginable, because that's what we can imagine. It lives all the negative aspects of your life that you can, the worst negative. It lives all the best positive aspects of your life, the best positive. They're living it right now. That means every single thing that has ever happened that you can ever think of about yourself is happening right now to one of your copies. They are experiencing it right now. Okay? Now, you're one of the copies, because the copies, they can only be tuned in one at a time. That you cannot experience all your copies at the same time, because the way consciousness works, it tunes in like a TV. You can't watch all the channels simultaneously. You can only see a couple of them back and forth, because that's how your brain is only designed to see one thing at a time. That's why you can't feel and see all these copies. So the copy that you are right now, this is the one that you're experiencing right now. So the fact that there are infinite copies and infinite realities, infinite possibilities out there, that literally means that if you're this copy, you can now think of another copy's experience that you'd like to have. And then you will go to that copy. I won't physically go there though. You will tap into the information, you'll plug into the consciousness of that copy. And then that copy's information or experience will be sent to you in this moment, downloaded to you, and then you can relive and experience that copy's version of it. And this, remember, this is going on in infinite realities. Man, how do we know this stuff is true, man? Well, first of all, let me tell you something that you may not know. Space and time is fake. Space isn't a real thing. Time isn't. This is like a background. It's like a pretty picture to make sense of everything. Let me tell you why it's fake. Let's look at the speed of light. 144,000 miles per second. Something like that, right? They said nothing can go faster than the speed of light. That's the cosmic speed limit. Well, did you know that there are particles that are entangled, that are called quantum entanglement, that they disobey the speed of light? That once they are connected, information travels simultaneously no matter what distance they are. Therefore, they move beyond the speed of light. That is known as quantum entanglement. And with that information, this is how you can get a copy, one of your copies' experience, downloaded to you instantaneously, because there is no space or time. It's above space or time. You got to see, space or time is just like a headset or something. You ever play those virtual reality games? And you put on that goggles and stuff, and you're in the virtual reality. And you take off the goggles, you see the real world. When you put your goggles on, that's what space time is. It's like the goggles. It's like your headset. It's like your background picture in the game or something like that. I want to make sense to you. So it's not a point. You have to go beyond that, and your consciousness is above that. So whenever you get into that field, that you could bring your copy's experience and you can live it here. So so check this out though. So you know, most people are living their copy's negative aspect, because no one taught them this. They think that's how it is. So if you're in a negative aspect, it means you're living your negative copy. So you want to go and live your positive copy's aspect. All right? So yeah, so I have plenty more, but I don't have the time now. But I'll do another one and we can pick it up again. That's a good question. How can you download the best version of you? That's the next one I will talk about when I see you again.